Thank you, Shari. She's ready.
Okay,
Whenever you're ready.
call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the second ever digital type Zoom board meeting for Robla. Official roll call, all members are present and accounted for, with 2 members being digital. Let's see. Reporting open session item 3C. There was no action, excuse me, there was no action taken in closed session. Item 3D, adoption of the agenda. We do have an addendum.
Oh, you know what? Did she give it to you? Okay, oh, it's already on the,
Okay. Whoops, I'm sorry, I just, okay. So, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with the addendum.
So move. Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries, or the agenda has been approved. Item 4, public communications. Public communications. Individuals wishing to address the board on any non-agenda item which are of interest to the public and within the board's jurisdiction may do so during this time. The board may not act upon items presented during public comment, but may briefly respond to statements made, ask clarifying questions, or refer speakers to district staff or other resources. And we are doing this digitally, and let's take a look and see if we have anyone. I don't see anyone. But if you have comments, well, this is a different process. We will entertain them. I don't quite know how to do this because I can't actually see.
we're monitoring comments that could come in,
Okay.
and Shari or Adam will let us know if they have any comments.
Okay. So I've been told that we will be informed if we have any public comments. And I'm not seeing that we do. So I will go on to item 4B, reports. I'm not getting my list here.
Yes, it does not appear to be showing up.
I'm not doing a very good job winging it either.
Seeing as nobody's asked to make a report, I'd like to make a report, Mr. Barnes, if I could, but other than that, I think.
Okay. We'll go to superintendent report. I actually do have a report that was emailed to me, but I'll go after you for superintendent report.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. It's interesting to be conducting our meetings in this new format, and I want to acknowledge the people we have in the room that are helping us to do that. At a safe social distance are Adam Vivier, our IT director, and Mark Lawler, retired teacher from the Robla School District, and they're helping make sure that all of our technology works today and have really kind of shepherded us into this new way of doing business, so we're very grateful for that. Other thank yous that I'd like to start with tonight are for our Meals on Wheels program, the food service staff and custodians and the bus drivers who continue to feed our students on a weekly basis. I'll have some numbers in a minute. For the distance learning program that we now have running in the Robla School District, I'd like to thank our teachers, and I'd like to especially acknowledge the teachers and administrators who were part of the Robla School District Distance Learning Planning Committee, who really did a wonderful job of putting our work together and creating our system that's now up and running. I'd like to acknowledge our classified and certificated administrators for their continued leadership in these different times. I'd like to also acknowledge our association leadership. both Lydia and Leah, who have just been doing a great job of making sure that we are working together and collaborating and making sure that we are creating our plans for working with our employees in some new ways. And I appreciate their communication. And then finally, I'd like to acknowledge and thank some outside agencies who have been really supportive of Robla and our new way of meeting the needs of our families. You may know that the Central Valley Foundation, who's been a longtime partner with the Robla School District, recently granted us $40,000 to purchase iPads that we will now be giving to the families in preschool, and that will be happening next week. A number of other agencies were involved in helping us put together the supplies. They either donated funding or supplies or manpower to help us pack the supplies for families. And some of those are Mayor Steinberg's office, his team, as well as some volunteers from his office. Councilman Alan Warren's office as well, people from his team. Viva Supermarket, who has been just a great partner in the community. They have provided a lot of bags that we use in our program to feed students. We actually give them a lot of food at one time, and so they need a bag to put it in, and Viva's been very generous about donating those. Others are the Junior League of Sacramento, Masonic Lodge number 20, the United Way, of course, Sacramento Kings, who donated canvas bags for us to put the supplies in, as did Fleet Feet of Sacramento. So we're very grateful to all of those agencies for supporting our work. In terms of our Meals on Wheels program, I'll just remind everyone that we deliver food to families on Mondays for Monday and Tuesday, and on Wednesdays for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. While it was a crazy beginning to figure out how this program would work, we are now at a place where it's running very smoothly. I wanted to share some numbers because they're pretty astronomical. Last week, the week of April 20th, we delivered to our families 19,748 meals. This week, we delivered 19,830 meals. Those are very large numbers, and especially if you compare to what we do when school is in. So on an average week, when school is in session, we feed students in 3 meals a day, 15,000 meals. So we're way up, and that, I think, makes us all feel very good about the hard work our employees are putting in, because this is clearly a need that our community has. So in the time since school has closed, we have distributed to our families 116,372 meals.
Wow, that's great.
So something I think that we should all be very proud of. Distance learning in the Robla School District began on April 21st. We are lending Chromebooks to the families who need them. Today I received the number of 1,223 devices have been lent out to our families so far. We still do have devices for families who may not have picked them up yet. So if you know of anybody who still needs one, please send them to the district office. We are open in the district office Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 10 to 3 to loan out Chromebooks to families who need them. In our program, we are monitoring attendance. I do not have numbers for the board this week, but I will work towards getting numbers to the board about the numbers of students who are participating and engaging. We are working hard to monitor who is engaged and who isn't, and we have procedures in place for making sure that if we have a child or a family who is less engaged, that we are working with them to solve all the problems that they need some help solving in order to make sure their children are participating in our distance learning. We now have hotspots to loan to our families who have not had internet access. Our order had not arrived. I would like to commend the Natomas Unified School District and Superintendent Chris Evans, who actually, without even me asking, heard that we were short and called me and offered us the 300 devices we were waiting for. They had them in their warehouse, and we spoke on Tuesday, and by Tuesday afternoon, they called me and said, we've got your 300 and they're all boxed up. And Adam, our IT director, went to Natomas and picked them up and configured them very quickly, and we started distributing them today. So and we're actually just doing this by teachers telling parents, oh, I know that you haven't been participating, I know that you don't have a hotspot. They call the parents and they say, go pick one up. And so I think we distributed about 25 of them today. So we're excited to make sure that we are getting more and more families connected. Our specialists, our enrichment teachers, our special service program, and our special education programs are all involved in our distance learning, and they're doing things in unique ways and in very strategic ways with meeting the needs of specific students. So I'm proud that that's something that continues to evolve. And I did have a recent request from you, Ms. Howard, to see a little more closely what distance learning may look like. So I actually have some teachers who have volunteered their classroom code. And with that code, you could enter their classroom and specifically see lessons. So any board member who would like a classroom code, I have 3 or 4 at some different grade levels, and you can let me know, and I'd be glad to give those to you. I would just ask that if you are going to visit a classroom, we give the teacher some advance notice that you're coming.
Miss Dillon, who's 6th grade at Maine, yeah, she just, I think because she knows me, she just sent me her code, so I got a chance to go into her classroom. So I appreciate the teachers offering to do that. I'm very appreciative.
Wonderful.
I missed the last part of,
Too bad, so sad.
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of what we're supposed to tell or give the teachers if we're going to be present.
Yes,
Let
if
them
you,
know.
if you would like a classroom code, you can just let me know and I can give you a code. I would just ask that you notify the teacher that you're going to come in.
That's that's
Right.
exactly what I was looking for.
Perfect.
Thank you for giving me a hard time, Kim.
You're welcome.
Hmm.
Be listening.
Just so you know, I'm drawing a mustache on you on the screen.
Okay. I just want to say a few words about schools reopening. I know that was brought up by the governor this week. And I just want to share with the board and share with the community that we don't have a lot of information about guidelines in regards to that. We're waiting for direction from the state and from the state superintendent as well as the governor. So as soon as we have some information about what that can look like and would look like, we are very interested to get going on making that happen. Of course, you know, we still have the big question about funding and what that will look like in order to reopen schools, so we await information around that. But I just want to assure everyone in our community that the safety of our students and the safety of our staff will continue to be our highest priority, and whatever we design schools to look like in the future, that will be the first and foremost what we look at. And of course, I've already mentioned our employee associations, but we know that we will work collaboratively with them to make sure that we are all on the same page around the expectations of our employees when schools reopen. And the last thing in my report today is that I say this with not a great deal of sadness, to be honest with you, but there is a good chance that this could be the last board meeting that we have in this room. You're going to get a facilities report tonight about how we are moving forward with our construction. And we are in the process of emptying out this building. And if things go well, demolition for this building could begin in July. So we'll see. But a brand-new boardroom awaits us in the not-so-distant future. We're excited about that. And that is my report.
Okay, 3 quick questions. Hopefully
Yes, sir.
they're quick. One is, you mentioned a lot of people that we should be thanking, and how are we thanking them? Website, cards, whatever?
The outside, the people on the inside, I try to thank every day in my daily message to staff, and I will continue to do that. The outside agencies, the request has gone out to teachers to work with their students to either create physical thank yous or thank you videos, those kinds of things that we're hoping will happen, and we can send those to those agencies.
Okay. Is there anything we can do to thank Superintendent Evans for his generosity?
Absolutely. If the board would like us to, it might be nice to acknowledge that to his board. I would be happy to draft an official thank you. I think that might be a very gracious thing for us to do. Okay, we will work on getting that together.
Second question, you talked about schools reopening in July, and I was reading the news. I haven't been up on reading everything that I should be, but I was a bit surprised. Are you in some kind of loop, or were you also surprised?
I heard it when you heard it. I heard it when everybody else heard it. So we had not heard, the school districts had not received any kind of advance notice that the governor was going to say that.
Okay, because I kind of did the Scooby-Doo, you know, and, so, okay, thank you. And third question related to construction, if this is the last meeting, will they be taking these chairs?
Yes, yeah. Well, I want to assure the board that everything that is worth salvaging from this building and any other building that we are going to demolish, we will indeed salvage, including these chairs.
Yeah, we worked hard to get these chairs here. Make sure. Okay, thank you. Let's see. I do have one report from, I'm sorry, trying to manage technology. I do have one report from John Riven with the Robla Education Foundation. He emailed me and wanted me to pass along, let's see, there are still plenty of shifts available for the fireworks booth. He needs to get these filled out in the event that we are able to do fireworks this year. So please use his district email address to get in touch with him and sign up for shifts. Okay, so that was John Riven, and we don't have any other reports in here, so I'll just go to board member reports, and I'll ask, and I'll start with our digital colleagues. Trustee Boyd, do you have any?
I really have nothing to report. I just want to thank everybody for all the hard work you've done in these trying circumstances and frontiers that we've never known before. Just want to, again, thank everybody for all you've done.
Okay. Trustee DeLuce?
Yes, I got a few things. Number one, I was reelected to the Delegate Assembly, so I'll be serving another 2 years on the CSBA Delegate Assembly until 2022. Wanted you to know we've actually been meeting the Region 6 folks, which is all of the folks throughout pretty much the Sacramento region, have been meeting pretty much like every other week, just kind of talking about how things have been going. We've been doing it, obviously, we've been doing it via Zoom. Been getting a lot of interesting information. I think what Ruben has talked about in terms of the budget, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of change into next year. It's going to be really the year after that we're going to probably start to see whether it's potential cuts or whatever things are going to look like for the budget. Everyone is really kind of, we've also had a chance to talk a lot about, how we're handling both the meal programs as well as distance learning. And, I'm just so happy because it seems like, at least from what I'm hearing, that we're doing everything every other district is doing and more in terms of providing connectivity to our students and making sure they have access to what they need in order to do distance learning. One of the things that was brought up, and I actually had a conversation with Daryl Roberts, one of the challenges they're finding, in particular with some of the other districts, and I won't say which ones, but some of the lower income students are like the last ones that are getting access to digital devices or access to internet and all of the things that are needed in order to do the distance learning. One of the things he and I had talked about, and this is something that, obviously I'd like to see us consider to the future, is I know that we purchased more Chromebooks and iPads and whatnot so that we can, obviously as a part of our transition to make sure we're upgrading our technology. As we look to some of the older technology, making sure maybe some of our neediest students who don't have access to the internet, who don't have digital devices, maybe looking at finding a way to make sure that they can keep the devices that they've been given so that they'll still have that access at home. Anyway, so that was something we were talking about, something obviously as things go forward, I'm hoping that we can consider, but that's pretty much my report.
Ms. Reyes, you want to?
Yeah, I would just say that is absolutely something we're already in discussions around. We have purchased some devices that, because as the board knows, we have a technology replacement plan in the Robla School District. So each year we do try to set some money aside in our funding to buy up-to-date devices because devices do have a life. They come to the end of that life, and it's better that we put a new device in children's hands. But sometimes those end-of-life devices are still viable, and Mr. Vivier and I, who were recently having a conversation about this very topic and about how we could put them in the hands of our families. So something that we will continue to develop and make available as we can to be sure that our families do have that access.
That's phenomenal. Thank you.
Trustee Howard?
A lot of the things Craig had already mentioned that I'm glad that we were, started a plan to go ahead and start our distance learning. And when you pop into the teachers' classrooms, you'll, see the students working hard with the teachers, following lessons. This is not, just like giving random things. They're doing actual lessons and doing the teaching and helping the students. So you'll be, really pleased when you pop in and you see what's going on in the Google Classrooms. And I'm glad we have the technology that allows that to be able to happen as well, so that's really good. Another thing that I want to bring up along with the digital equity that Craig was talking about, I also find it very heartening that we aren't having a different conversation around distance learning and our teachers doing the hard work that they're still doing, and that we have to have extra communications around contracts and things like that, because some of the other districts are going through that is part of their process. But all I can say is I'm just very grateful that we have things in place in which I think that we've operated fairly and justly with our employees, and they're helping their families. But also that our employees have, just stepped up and they're doing what needs to be done, from all the bagging that's going on of these meals and loading them on these buses and them driving up and down the street. There's one that drives up and down my street. I see him like clockwork, each week. And, to developing the lessons and being online to be able to help the students, and just everybody, other people stepping outside of their, regular position to be able to help in other places, and that's the mindset that we have. That's how we've built ourselves. And so, that's just a testament to how we're trying to do what we do, which is always the right thing for our students, their families, and our employees and their families. That's always at the heart of the things that we do. So it's just a good thing that we're not experiencing that situation. So that's all.
Trustee Cardona?
I just want to add what Ms. Howard said, and I really, really, really want to express my thank you for all the hard work that you guys have been doing, from the principals to the administrations to the employees to the custodians to everybody, because you guys are doing a tremendous job during this crisis, and I cannot appreciate that more. Thank you.
Well, I had a bit more to say, but it's already been said by 4 other board members, and that shows how much we all think alike on this board. So I'm not going to say everything that I had planned on saying, but I will say a few words. I've been paying attention and noticed that across the country, some people were always in the mindset that there are less fortunate people and we have to take care of them. For others, it was an afterthought. It was absolutely wonderful to be here in this district and to know that that was our primary thought. That it was just, that was second nature to us. We knew we had to do distance learning, and we jumped right on it and made sure that everyone, that we were taking care of everyone. And that to me is phenomenal. I'm really proud to be part of this district and to see that, and even this area. It really warms my heart to hear that we have colleagues down the street that heard about, a situation we were in and jumped in to help, because they know the situation that we're in, we know the situation they're in. So I'm just really proud of that. So I'm not going to say too much more because it's all been said, but I am just really proud to be part of this district, and I'm thankful to everyone who is working hard to do everything, particularly our at the top, Superintendent Reyes. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to item 5, presentations, starting with our facilities update.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
How you doing?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
Hi, Emilio.
Doing all right.
Hi, Emilio.
Thank you for having us this evening. As we've done in the past, we're giving you an update of where we are on the facilities program. As usual, Mr. Reyes has stolen some of the thunder, but we will survive and we will carry on.
As usual.
First off, I think the most important thing to talk about overall is the impact of the COVID-19 on the facilities program as a whole. The state's shelter-in-place order went into effect on March 19th. Here in the Bay Area, we actually went into shelter-in-place on the 16th of March. And so we started off with transitioning over to a work-from-home or remote work place quite quickly. At the time of the shelter-in-place order, the district had no major construction project underway. There were no bulldozers, there were no framers, there was no plumbers. We were pretty much in the design process for all of our major construction projects. So currently, all the projects are under design, or they're currently in DSA review. And none of our timelines have been affected by that, as we've been able to maintain those efforts remotely with all of our partners, our contractors, as well as our design team members. State agencies, such as the Division of State Architect, the California Department of Education, the Office of Public School Construction, all major players in the design and construction of school facilities, have transitioned to remote operations with varying levels of success. DSA, Division of State Architect, was probably the most prepared for this eventuality. A lot of the hard work that they've put in over the last couple of years to allow for digital uploads of plans have come in handy over the last couple of weeks. The California Department of Education is still very much a physical piece of paper type of department. And so as folks have had to go to a remote setting or to take shifts in going to physical offices, even though a lot of it's still conducted through email, being able to get an official letter from CDE or getting some official correspondence on a letterhead, if you will, has been a little more impacted. Office of Public School Construction is probably the most arcane of all those divisions, and they are understaffed, but secondarily, that is also an area in which they need to push a lot of paper in order for things to get done. It's also affected local agency approvals, as I'm sure that IBI will talk about a little bit later or mention. Some of the things that we've had to adjust to when we submit to DSA is some of our local partners, local agencies, the fire department, traffic, some of those city services, and so forth, have been delayed in their responses, or there are certain things that they would, certain analyses and tasks they would perform in the past that they're no longer able to do, either because they've themselves deemed to be non-essential, or to take away resources from the overall recovery. So one example of that is we do water flow testing, make sure we have sufficient pressure, primarily for sprinklers in our buildings. That's something that the local agencies perform for us. At this time, they're not performing those. I think we probably did the last one that was done before the shutdown, which is over on Robla. But we are working with DSA to make accommodations for that. And we are working with staff to make sure DSA has the appropriate documentation so that we're able to submit to DSA on time and that we don't incur any delays in that design overall. The recent change, the shelter-in-place order, this was updated in the last 24 hours, allows all construction to proceed, although school construction was previously considered to be an essential sector under Public Works. So one of the things that I report back to the board is construction of school facilities throughout the state really did not stop over the last 6 weeks. Schools are continuing to be built. Construction crews are still showing up to do work. And most of those companies are operating under the designation of Homeland Security as a critical infrastructure sector, which includes public works. And a subcategory of that is K-12 education. So either under the existing shelter-in-place order or the modified one, school construction is allowed to continue in this particular environment. Overall, we are in DSA review for the Robla Elementary School project. That project is currently being reviewed by DSA. We've received comments back. The architect and design team are responding to those, and they are currently awaiting to finalize those drawings and to resubmit them back to DSA for a final approval. We anticipate having DSA approval for the Robla Elementary project sometime in May. We also anticipate having CDE approval for the California Department of Education, their approval of the project as well. Given how close we are to that milestone, we are planning on proceeding to start and engage Clark & Sullivan, the selected contractor for this particular project, in negotiations to establish a guaranteed maximum price. And that would be the contract that we would be considering in late May, early June, which would actually establish the overall construction contract for that school site. On a preliminary basis, we believe we're near close to our estimated budgets that we had presented previously. But obviously, as we go through that process, we will continue to update the board and ultimately present a GMP to the board for its consideration sometime in May or early June. What that means in terms of construction, as the superintendent pointed out, is that we could be seeing dirt moved. You can see bulldozers hitting that old building by July. And so we're currently coordinating with the district and school site to obviously salvage any equipment we can from the buildings that will be affected, and obviously making sure that we're moving any critical infrastructure to be rehoused elsewhere. For example, the main distribution for your IT at that site is in the building, in the boardroom building. And so that will have to be relocated in order for us to proceed with demolition and ultimately construction. At Bell Avenue, we have two projects running concurrently. One is a modernization and a new construction of kindergarten facilities. And we have presented that to the board previously. The second one is the new construction of a two-story classroom building at Bell Avenue, along with a reconfiguration and expansion of the site's parking lot. You'll be having a presentation later on this evening from IBI Architects regarding the final design, which will be submitted to DSA later in May. In Glenwood, we continue to work with the design team on establishing a construction drawings. Over there, we have a construction of a new kindergarten classroom wing, modernization of the existing classrooms, and some improvements to the circulation at the site and its adjoining support facilities. So it's anticipated we'll come back to you in June for approval of that design as well for submission in June as well at Glenwood. Next couple of slides are kind of a summary of what I've just went over, but district-wide, I think one of the things that's important is that we've talked with the district and especially with the art teachers, making sure that we are addressing any specialized spaces as we go through this modernization, new construction process, and to make sure that we're providing the appropriate level of furniture, fixtures, and equipment to help support the curriculum that is being taught in those areas. The other thing that's very important, I think, of note for the board is we're continuing to work with district staff on the movement of students, the movement of teachers, and obviously a lot of this is predicated on the idea that we return to some type of normalcy in education. These plans will have to be flexible given the current environment, but we will continue to coordinate with the superintendent and his staff regarding that as the situation changes. Obviously, if there is a state order or there is some type of mandate that we return to school in July, we have to make sure that our timelines would be able to accommodate that as well. But that's something we'll continue to look at as we move through time. I think I went through most of this stuff over on Bell Avenue and Glenwood in my other review. So I think looking forward, we are anticipating having DSA and CDA approval at Robla, entering that GMP for the construction of the site, and finalizing that transition plan of moving student, staff, and critical infrastructure out of the building that is slated for demolition. We'll be submitting our final construction drawing sets in mid-May and June for both the Bell Avenue projects, and in Glenwood, we're looking for submittal in June as well. Following the submission of the Glenwood project DSA in June, all phase 1 projects identified in the 2019 facilities implementation plan will have completed the design phase. So all of the projects that we identified in that upfront phase of design and construction, we will have completed the design of all of those 3 major projects in the beginning of June. Following that, remaining projects we have in the plan include new media center at Main Avenue, the new NPR, and additional improvements to Taylor Street, as well as we've talked previously about potentially being able to address some of the food services issues over at Bell Avenue as another consideration that we've been looking at as well. Although that was not part of the original plan, it is a project that we've talked about in the past with the board and with the district about pursuing. Those phase 2 projects were initially to be considered to be funded from reimbursements from the state program. These are the projects in which we're eligible for new construction eligibility and modernization. One is based on enrollment and permanent capacity. That's new construction. Modernization is based on the age of your facilities. And what we've done is we've already submitted approximately $9.4 million in applications to the state. And that $9.4 million sits in line currently for funding from the existing Prop 51 dollars. So putting aside Prop 13, which was considered by voters and failed in March, there's $9.4 million we have on the current authorization that we anticipate to be funded. In addition to that, there's another $3.6 million, another 3.6, I got this wrong, sorry. There's 9 million in total that's been submitted, of which 5.8 are currently on that list. And then another $3.6 million are slated on a list that's called Beyond a Bonded Authority. What that means is that they've received our application, they've accepted it, but if everybody accepts the money in front of us, there will not be money for us at the 3.6 unless a new statewide bond is passed. That was the purpose of Prop 13 in March. That failed to garner sufficient support. It is more likely than not that the state will pursue an additional bond, if not in 2020, in 2022, or in 2024. So historically what's happened is anytime these bonds have failed, they've come back to the next election cycle to replenish it. One of the important things that we've mentioned in the past that is something for the board to understand, and we've talked about this at the district level as well, is that eligibility is based upon enrollment at the time that the application is submitted. So if we have a precipitous drop in enrollment, even though we had applied for the or deemed ourselves to be eligible at the time of construction of the projects, there may be a possibility if there's a precipitous drop in enrollment that eligibility goes away. And that's important for everybody just to put back there. Currently, we're doing okay on enrollment, or we're doing okay on and some of that's coming from local development as well. So not only is it dependent on your current enrollment, but it's also dependent on your projected enrollment. So there's been some development in your district of late, which has been offsetting any declines that have recently occurred. As I mentioned, the original plan was that we would do these 3 phase 1 projects. We would submit for state reimbursements. And in some cases, we even submitted for state reimbursements for the first phase of Main happening, the original classroom building, not the two-story, but the main campus. And that those reimbursements, when they came available, would fund the design and construction of these phase 2 projects. And that we would preserve the remaining authorization from our 2014 bond of about $13.3 million for a future school site if needed. Given the anticipated timing of those reimbursements, given the uncertainty of the ability for the state to provide that match in a timely manner, what the district may want to consider is flipping around the funding sources and utilizing the remaining authorization from its 2014 bond measure to fund the design and construction to finish off the existing school sites, and then to utilize the state reimbursements if and when they come to bolster any additional construction for any new school site into the future. Overall, we're going to continue to monitor the design process and submittals for all the projects currently underway. We're going to engage in negotiations over at the Robla Elementary School site to generate a GMP for the board's consideration. And then we're going to continue to work with staff to determine the potential projects to be funded in the next phase of construction. And if desired, we can come back to the board as well with options of what would it look like if we did sell additional tranche of bonds to fund the next phase of construction in lieu of those state reimbursements coming in a timely manner. With that, I will take any questions that you may have, and if you could just please speak up so we can hear you, I appreciate that.
Any questions? Craig has a question.
Yeah. Has there been any analysis done in terms of what are some of the things that may have caused the failure of Prop 13? Like, was it the additional language that was added in or anything like that?
So unfortunately, there hasn't been a postmortem yet. And the reason for that is that very shortly after the March election, COVID-19 really took over a lot of the energies of folks. We had started having some economic unease around Election Day. We had, China had started to show slowdowns. Those people who deal in international markets had noticed that as well. The reports in Seattle had just started picking up about the weekend before that. And there hasn't really been a good postmortem on why it failed. I will tell you right now that calling it Prop 13 costed probably 10 points. Just as a gut. The fact that it was allowed to go on the ballot as Prop 13 caused a tremendous amount of confusion among voters. And they didn't necessarily know what they were voting on. And that confusion was further amplified by the fact that there is a measure on the November 2020 ballot, which actually repeals a portion of Prop 13 to create a split tax roll. So if you're of a certain generation, Prop 13 means only one thing. It's a proper noun. It's a defined term. And I think there was a lot of confusion surrounding that at the end of the day. That said, I mean, bond measures across the state failed to get this sufficient amount of support. I think only about 30% of all school bond measures in the state passed in March. In any other normal cycle, the passage rate is closer to 70 to 80%. So it kind of tells you that something significant was occurring. The governor's office has performed a recent survey talking about, primarily what is the current public opinion regarding education in California, its response to the COVID-19. That was published by a think tank, I believe, last Tuesday, who does also a lot of polling for the governor himself. But overall, I think it was a perfect storm of some economic unease starting to creep in, some concern regarding a looming pandemic, and ultimately a lot of voter confusion about what Prop 13 was in the context of the March 3rd election.
Thank you very much.
If I could just say something very quickly, in my own defense, that it is never my intention to steal Mr. Flores's thunder. It is simply my enthusiasm that gets the best of me sometimes.
It's okay. You can steal the thunder anytime you want.
Okay, moving along. Robla SPSA report.
Yes, so Mr. Penman is coming up next, and this is our continued effort to make sure that the board has detailed information from each school about their plans for the upcoming school year. And Mr. Penman, as we've already heard from Ms. Newhouse at Maine and Mrs. Hall at Bell, next up we have Mr. Penman at Robla. As we're pulling Mr. Penman up, I'll just keep working on it, Adam. I was just going to say that this process is that each month we have a different presentation, and then the following month the board then has the time to look at the plan in detail, and then the following month that plan comes forward for approval.
Okay, well, hello, everyone. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
It was nice to see you. Kind of a weird thing doing this from home, but it was nice to see all the board members, superintendent there. We are surviving over at Robla with our distance learning, and we're I'm just so amazed with what teachers are capable of doing during these times. Pretty impressive. So I just wanted to say, shout out from my staff that they've been doing amazing during this time as well. So I'm going to start off with what you're probably really familiar with already, the dashboard of the CASP. We've had chronic absenteeism at the yellow. We have... You need to share your screen. Share your screen. I did share my screen. So you guys can't see it right now?
We cannot.
Okay.
Everybody can bring it up on their computers, right? Just in case it doesn't come up there.
Okay, share screen. Adam, is there something else I should be doing?
No, should just be a button down at the bottom that says share screen.
Oh, well, that's what I needed help with right there.
There we go.
Gotcha. All right, see, I'm still learning too. This remote distance learning is killing me as well. All right, so here we go. You can see things now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So as I said, chronic absenteeism is on the yellow. For the last couple of years, we have been red. So that's a nice little shift. Our suspension, it continues to go towards the blue. In language arts and in math, we continue to be yellow. The multi-year, 3 years of data to show us kind of where we're at over time. We're at 42% and then 41 and 41. We have plateaued a little bit, but there's good news that I'm going to share in a little bit because there was a conversation a long time ago when CASP started and we were at like 25%. And Dennis said, well, what are you going to do when you get that 50%? And I said, well, I'm going to go higher from there. So the bar is always high for us. We always try to do as best as we can. As you can see on this data, the average distance from level 3 is also improving. We were minus 32 in 16-17, and then in 18-19, we're minus 21. So that means a lot of our students are making some movement in the bands that they are in, which is a good thing. Something that we always look at pretty in depth, we usually print out some subgroup information. If we are targeting a certain subgroup, we will definitely print out sheets that give us exact names of the students that we're targeting, and we see what kind of resources and interventions that we are giving these students. As I've always said throughout the years, it's always hard to manage the limited amount of resources you have, so you have to use the data to kind of guide you. So with that said, what I targeted that year was fifth grade teachers. They were a little bit on the lower end of their scores for the area of ELA. And the fourth grade teachers that I mentioned that year too, they were new teachers. So I figured that some of our scores would just go down because new teachers come in and they take time to kind of get their skills up. We also targeted the EL students. Our fifth grade teachers that we targeted went from 36% in 17-18, they went to 50% in 18-19. Our EL students were at 9%, which is fairly low 17-18, and they went up to 31%. Our fourth grade teachers were at 38%, and as you can see, they went down a little bit, but as I've always stated, there's not always apples to apples because we have different students throughout the grade levels that come up, but fairly well they did. This is our strategies that we've kind of been using throughout the school year. Our PLC data is always what drives us. I meet with my teams. I talk to my teams about their data analysis. They give me their weekly PLC notes. I usually look at them every single week and give them feedback or have comments for them. We have source strategies throughout the district. One of our initiatives, our PLSTs have been very good with helping us out with everything that they do for the district and with certain teachers. We target teachers and grades. That usually comes from me. The interventions are always targeted as well. We have a wonderful intervention teacher who has been doing amazing with her skilled work of looking at the data for their kids, talking to the teachers regularly. And what she does is meet with them fairly often to kind of discuss how those kids are doing in the intervention. If they're doing well, then they leave the intervention. And if they're not, then we keep them in. We usually try to target as many students as we can. So this is a part that I kind of wanted to highlight, that the 50% is alive. Our students are more than capable of doing well in Robla District. This is a proof of that. I know they can do even better. But 4 out of the 8 teachers got 50%, or one got 48%, but very close, 54, 50, and 50. So it just made me very proud because I know our kids are capable of doing things. And when you have good teaching happening in those classrooms, good things can happen for our students. This is in math. Once again, I felt like we did plateau a little bit, 34%, and then we went up 2 percentage points this year with 36%. But once again, the average distance from level 3 is also decreasing. So that's a very good thing that shows that most of our students are moving forward as well. Subgroups, we take a look at that every single year to drive what resources we give our students. The ones that I targeted, like I stated in ELA, were 4th grade teachers, the 5th grade teachers, and the EL students. This in math, 17-18 was 28%, and in 18-19 they were 30%. Now these were second-year teachers, and I'm very proud of them because they were ranked 3 and 4 in the district out of 10 teachers across the district. So for teachers who just started, we're doing fairly well, and I was very proud of them. We met a lot, we talked a lot, and had them observe other people, and so I'm very proud of their movement very quickly. Our EL students went from 9% to 31%, and our EL teacher used to be a K teacher, so she was about her 3rd year in, and so she showed a lot of improvement with just knowing the system of EL time, what resources she needed to do, how often she needed to meet the teachers. So I think that she grew quite a bit, and that showed in some of those scores. The fifth grade teachers in 17-18 that we targeted, they were at 28%. They went up to 45%. And I have to say that they used disciplinary discussion, which was one of our initiatives in the district, and they used it a lot. So I feel like that really impacted some of the learning. And the accountability. We talked about that some of the students weren't being held accountable when I went to go observe, that sometimes they were doing a lot of group work, and that's fine, and it does help their learning. But what happens sometimes is that the teachers weren't holding them accountable one-on-one, and that's a problem because you do the CASP on your own. You're not doing it with people. So I feel like that was another big piece that helped. Our strategies in math was our PLC data analysis, as always, disciplinary discussions in the district. Teachers and the grades are the ones that I target. The tutoring is specific to math. We target the students that really need to move up. And our intervention this year, last year, we used a lot of the resource intervention time for the intermediate students because they're the ones that needed the most help. Our English language development, 45% were making progress towards English language proficiency, which is pretty good. The performance level for us was medium. Looking at this chart of the student English language acquisition results, Brittany and I, Mrs. Freer, looked at the 20% and the 34%, the kids who decreased by one, and the kids that maintained. So we wanted to see what students those were and what we could do to move them forward. Strategies for the EL learners. Our EL teacher gives second dose. So if there's kids that are in that level of they decreased the level or they maintained, those are the kids that we should target for that second dose. She worked on disciplinary discussions quite a bit, which, like I said, is a district initiative. The BCOAs are always our partners in the learning of our children, and so they help out a lot as always. Our writing is a focus at Robla School. It includes all our ELD time as well. And the data analysis never ends. So our parent involvement has always been pretty steady at Robla School for sure. This year, 2009 back to school night, we had 48%. It's usually in that 50% zone. Parent conferences was at 80%, and that's pretty where it always is too. We continue to grow as a Robla parent and teacher members, help us with all these things that we do all year long. We are still always using Remind and Facebook to make sure that all our families get the information that they need. School climate and student engagement. This is an Achilles heel that I've had a little bit. We had issues, like I said, that we were in red for a couple of years. We are now in yellow. We're at 11.4 chronically absent. It declined 5.3%. Unfortunately, we were ATSI because our African American students were red 2 years in a row. So what I did is I kind of took that on myself and put some of my focus on to this issue. As you can see, this is a grid that Adam gave me, and I just got to say, Adam is such a help with all the data that he provides the principals for our schools and our decisions. As you can see, there's red. They have to be 90%, below 90% to be chronically absent. As you can see, our targeting and my meeting with people and talking to families really helped shift this. So that's where we're going towards this year. We only had one student at this point in time, and 2/3 of the year is almost over, at 89%, which is chronically absent. The other ones were pretty close to high numbers that I wasn't too concerned about, but I still kept meeting with parents and calling if I needed to. School climate and student engagement again, suspensions. 1.8% in 2017, 1.6 in 2018, and 0.7 in 2019. What I will say about that is that it is extremely difficult to do. I just got to give a lot of kudos to my staff for being compassionate, using the skills that they have, instead of being a negative, being a positive. We're a very positive school, and we want our kids to do the best they can. And so I think that we'll just continue to do what we're doing. For the absenteeism, I did have a lot of meetings, monthly meetings, bi-monthly meetings with Linda Hale, our CSC, and our secretarial assistant to talk about what students we needed to target and families to target. We started bringing more families up to SART and SARBs, which we haven't done in the past. And my role was a lot more involvement in this area. As far as suspensions go, PBIS is in full force at Robla. Our school culture is one of just care for our students. Sandy Graham and her team did such a wonderful job of self-training, which has, I think, helped and benefited our teachers with how to work with our kids that are pretty difficult sometimes to work with. And so I'm just very happy that she offered that opportunity to all of our staff. Our psychologists and social workers, they are a big part of our team that sometimes they're not always appreciated as much, but I know that on our team, they're always involved in helping out our families that need extra support with their kids. And so I want to make sure that they were in there too. And that is it. That is the Robla information that I have had for you guys. Are there any questions?
Yeah, can you explain a little bit this disciplinary discussion in math? What is it? Could you explain that a little bit?
The disciplinary discussion, it has a whole bunch of strategies that you go for and use. And all the district has been taught how to do this. It's about clarifying and evaluating and doing all of these different things in kind of a process. So we started in language arts, but we moved into the realm of math. And so the kids get into groups, just like they did in ELA, and they discuss things and they strategize and they work on things together. And there's a lot of thinking involved, and there's a lot of going back and forth. And it's hard to do with elementary kids, let me tell you. I mean, it's not easy to do. But I'll tell you, those fifth grade teachers who did a great job in that, their scores just skyrocketed.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I also appreciate your attention to every little issue that seems to surface, Mario. You really do give it the fullest tonight. I do appreciate all you do.
What's funny, Dennis, is that I've been doing this 17 years now as being a principal, and it feels like whack-a-mole because you put your focuses on things and you start working on them and it gets better, and then all of a sudden 2 other things surface over here. And that's why the data is so important, because you're doing different things for different reasons because of that data. It pushes you every year to do something different, sort of.
Well, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payman.
Thank you, Mr. Penman.
Thanks, Mr. Penman.
Nice and detailed.
Okay, moving along to item 5C, Cali PLST report.
And this is our Director of State and Federal Programs, Mrs. Cindy Lyon, who will be doing this report. Hi, Cindy.
All right, hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
And everyone. So here I am getting message that my internet connection is unstable, so I apologize if I have any issues here. I live a little remotely. I'm not that far from the freeway, but I'm in an area up by Newcastle, which has the worst internet in the entire nation. So bear with me, I'm sorry if I lose you. All right, so here we're going to talk a little bit about our work that we've been doing with California Education Partners and our professional learning support teachers. And basically all this work is all around the idea of transforming our instruction, the rethinking about our teacher supports. Oops, why are we not advanced? There we go, okay. So first of all, California Education Partners in 2011 decided to create a collaborative that works with school districts working together to address common problems of practice and to share best practices. In those collaboratives, we have become a part of the California Language and Learning Initiative, or also known as CALI. And in this collaborative, one of the things that we've really focused on and what they've really supported us in is building that culture of the continuous improvement. We've learned a lot of new skills. They've provided us with a lot of tools, and they continue to do so. They're very dynamic. They actually just did a lot of information or started sharing a lot of information around this online learning and have really shifted and moved with us as we've had needs. So they've been a really wonderful collaborative to work with. For the first 3 years with the collaborative, we were in the academic language group or academic language collaborative. And in a moment, I'm going to share some data with you on what that looks like after doing our work there. We've shifted, again, because of data, this year to the Early Literacy Collaborative, and I'll share a little bit more about that as well. But what I have here on this screen is some of the districts throughout the state of California that we've had the opportunity to work with, to share information with, to have them share information with us about the practices and the things that they are doing for their students. And one thing that's really come clear is that we have a lot of common issues and a lot of common challenges. And we've been able to share our approaches to that and sharing what's successful and what hasn't been successful. Also, part of CALI has allowed us to have some outstanding thought partners we've been allowed to work with. In the beginning, in our first initiative, we worked a lot with Kenji Hakuda, Jeff Weirs, and Stephen Weiss, which are part of the Stanford Graduate School of Education and the Language and Learning Initiative, it's called Understanding Language, and also Scale Up. And Scale Up is part of that Stanford grad school, has been a part of actually putting together the performance tasks for the CASP ELA assessment. We've also been working with professors from UC Davis, Bob Pritchard and Susan O'Hara, as well as continue to work with Bob and Debbie Pitta, his wife, with the work that they're doing with our SOAR frames, which again we'll talk about in a little bit. Also with CALI, we've had the opportunity to now start working with some professors out of Fresno State. Nancy Akavan is a professor who has done a lot of her work around early literacy and what a balanced literacy program looks like. And then just this week, I was able to attend a webinar with Catherine Joy, Dr. Catherine Joy, who is a professor on online learning, which was very informative. So I really feel blessed that we've had these opportunities and that we have the ability to work with these outstanding professionals. So let's talk a little bit about what the work we did while we were in the first collaborative, the Language Development Collaborative. And what I have here on the screen for you is how our English learners have performed on the CASP over the last 4 years. As I said, we really started working with CALI in 2015. It's kind of the initial year where they got us ready for the 2016 through 2018 collaborative. So I shared with you here what our data look like. And as you can see, the data has shown that our work is paying off. In 2015, only 16% of English learners met or exceeded the standard in ELA on the CASP. And in 2019, that number has increased to 25% of English learners meeting or exceeding the standard, and another 1% that are approaching meeting standard. Robla's English learners' scores exceed the state and county scores by 12 and 13% respectively. So we've been very successful in this area. So I'm very proud of this data. Another piece of data I'd like to share with you is around learning English. So that first piece of data was around the core curriculum of English language arts. And this is some data around how are students actually learning English and progressing in their English learning skills. And I've highlighted that third column here because where it says English learners 6+ years, this is a critical time. This is the time when we start looking at the students and saying, are these students at risk of becoming long-term English learners? If they are to become a long-term English learner, what that's saying is that the data is showing that they're very unlikely to be successful in school, and often they see a higher number of dropouts with long-term English learners. So in 2018, 2019, we had about 12% of our students at 6+ years. This is basically our sixth graders, because when you look at our data, you know, kindergarten being the first year, we're looking at fifth and sixth graders. And how many of our fifth and sixth graders are we not getting reclassified by the time they leave us? So we're sitting at about 12%, which was a drop from 17, 18 of 1.8%. And I put the numbers of students next to that because, again, you know, sometimes those percentages can get a little skewed when you're changing the total number of students that you're looking at. So we went from 135 students to 118 students. Also, the column to the right of that, the reclassified RFIP, these are students that we've been able to reclassify, which means that they scored 4 on the English Language Proficiency Assessment, or the LPAC, and they've also scored at meets standard on the CASP ELA test. So again, here we've been very successful and been able to bring this number up as we move through the years. So we went all the way from 7.7% in 2016-17 to now at 17.2%. Going forward, this is going to be a hard number to look at. They're looking at changing the criteria, and I've brought to the board several times over the last probably 6 years our reclassification criteria. So it's at a point now where the state is trying to create a state mandated criteria, so there won't be any flexibility for a school district to modify that criteria. So we'll look and see. That's probably not till 2021 before we'll actually see that. But again, we don't have LPAC testing was suspended this year, so this is going to be a little bit wonky for the next couple of years. So in our work with Callie, one of the things that we did is we really said we need to look what we're doing and look at a full wide system of support, that our initiatives are aligned and they're all working towards that ultimate goal of increased engagement and increased achievement. So you've seen this slide before, but I thought I would bring it back up because this is also kind of our base that we go back to and think about the work that we're doing. And are these items that we are doing in the bottom of this pyramid, are the initiatives we want in place, are they working in somewhere in those bottom initiative part of the pyramid to help us with that student learning? And using that, we use the data to help drive our professional learning cycle. So as I said previously, we're looking at being in the Callie initiative with the language and learning and academic language. And with that, we use that to build out our professional learning cycle, which is a plan, do, study, act cycle. The different components of our professional learning cycle all work together for a common goal. The model is built around a system of support that includes not only the professional learning days, a leadership team, professional learning communities, and professional learning support teachers, also called PLSTs or coaches, instructional coaches. We have 3 professional learning days built into our calendar throughout the year. We follow the professional learning cycle to plan our professional learning days, and our leadership team gets together for the planning and includes our superintendent, our READ partners, directors, principals, and the teacher union representative or president, as well as our teaching coaches or PLSTs as they're commonly called. We discuss where our teachers are in the process of using SOAR teaching frames to affect student learning and engagement. We also use our Callie time to further these discussions. So while we're here at the school district, we meet in this leadership team, and then when we go out to Callie, we really have time to spend an entire day to sit down and dig in to the information that we have back, that we get from our leadership team, and further those discussions to help us plan accordingly. So our discussions are often based on administrator instructional observations, the PLSTs sharing their work and the observations regarding the ongoing work that they're doing with the teachers, as well as teacher surveys after the professional learning days. After the professional learning focus is determined, it is delivered by our READ partners, that's Bob Pritchard and Debbie Pitta, and lead teachers on the next PL day, or professional learning day. Then we come back together again We discuss how that day went based on teacher feedback and observation, and then plan accordingly moving forward in the next focus. Ongoing support is provided by the professional learning support teachers, our coaches. They may provide demo lessons, team teach, or help with planning, or they may release a teacher to observe another teacher. Much of our work is centered around the SOAR teaching frames. These are the frames that we have been working our way through. This is a little bit of review. I'm sure you've seen this slide before. So basically, these 6 frames we have high impact practices that fall under these 6 categories. During our first 3 years with Callie, we were part of the academic language group. We focused on the frames about disciplinary communication, disciplinary discussion. And as we're ready to move into the frames of literacy, we are also able to switch to the Callie early literacy group. We have skills frame, and we'll be introducing the disciplinary interaction with complex texts in the next coming school year. So now I've talked a little bit about Callie and what we've done with Callie. I'd like to share with you a little bit about the professional learning support teachers and some of the work that they're doing. So the professional learning support teachers, we have 3 professional learning support teachers that are actually on the Callie team. And we conduct much of the strategic planning and data analysis while we're at these Callie convenings, which happen 3 times a year. The PLST share with administration what teachers and coaches' perspectives are on the implementation of professional learning and whether teachers are ready to move forward. As I said before, we work on the plan, do, study, act cycle. PLSTs are a part of all 4 parts of the cycle, and Callie really helps us with the plan and the study act component of our cycle. At the classroom level, the professional learning support teachers are also current practitioners, so half the time they're in the classroom. At this time, this is where they can try things out so they have firsthand knowledge how the SOAR frames are working and the strategies that the SOAR frames contain. They also work with teachers, and the teachers can come and observe them teaching. At the teacher level, they also support teachers in planning. They participate in some of the grade level PLCs, professional learning communities. They team teach. They observe and reflect other teachers' teaching. One strategy that they'll use is 2 PLSTs will get together and go in with another a teacher or 2. One of the coaches will be actually doing the lesson while the other coach is sitting back with the teacher observing and helping them to focus on specific things that they want to have them pay attention to or focus on, whatever it is that that classroom teacher is trying to improve in their own classroom. And then the 3rd PLST will actually be covering that teacher's classroom so that they can be released to go do this. As I stated, they work with the district grade level teams, and they're part of that whole professional learning leadership component. So some of the things that the PLSTs work with teachers on fall under the guiding questions in our disciplinary discussions. Trustee Boyd, you had asked about disciplinary discussions in math. They work with the teachers on these cross-cutting practices. High impact practice and the foundational practice are across all the different SOAR frames. And when it comes to the math, they're talking about the discussions in math. So how can they explain their reasoning, how they might have solved a problem the way they solved it, how they came with the conclusion that they came with, or how they might approach a problem. One thing I'd really like to highlight that the PLSTs have been doing are these opt-in PLCs, or opt-in professional learning communities. So each school site has grade level professional learning communities as well as a whole school level professional learning community. But what the PLSTs have done is they've taken teachers that are interested in furthering their learning and continuing to hone in on the work they're doing, and they meet additional times. So they'll meet after school. They've been able to schedule about 6 meetings per school year. And depending on who signs up, and really it's teacher driven. So what the teachers want to work on is what they will work on. But they really try to help the teachers to focus in this realm of disciplinary discussions, or also into now foundational literacy skills. So what I did here is I gave you a little highlight of maybe what a meeting might look like. They might start off with talking about a reading strategy. And for these PLCs, these opt-in PLCs, they'll do something similar that we do with the professional learning days, where the teachers actually take away where they have something they need to accomplish in their classroom and some piece of data that they need to bring back to that PLC to discuss. At the end, so they'll have this opportunity to talk with each other. Then at the end, they have the opportunity to talk about what other things might they bring back to this opt-in PLC that they're really interested in further their learning on. So going forward, our next steps. We have one more year with Callie and the Early Literacy Collaborative. And how that looks next year, they're working on that. As I said, they've been doing some Zoom and online learning. We're just gonna have to see how that goes forward. We'll have our first, we actually had to cancel our last meeting for this school year, but we're gonna try to do a virtual meeting in May. And then we're also looking at how do we maintain the PLST positions. So in the past, the PLST positions were initially funded with a grant that we had written, or I had written with Central Valley Foundation. That grant is subsequently run out. And then this year, we've been funding them kind of a combination of using some Title I dollars that were left over that I've carried forward to try to hold on to these positions, as well as some LCFF dollars. But we do need to think about how we are going to fund them going forward in the new funding environment. The other component is looking at our professional learning and the funding for our professional learning, as well as our PLSTs. And just trying to identify and target some funding sources that we can use. So of course, we'll always look at some of the federal funding and how can we implement the federal funding to support all this work. But also Callie has come to us just last week and said, we know school districts are starting to see changes in their funding ability, and they're offering a $5,000 grant to help us continue the work that we've been doing with them. So when we meet in these Callie meetings, we set aims, we set targets for what we want to see, and we have improvement tasks that we try to complete between the convenings that say, what do we need to do to improve the number of teachers running records, let's say, and we have these aims that we set for ourselves. So Callie is trying to help us continue this work, and we will do what we can. We're going to apply for that funding and see if it can help us move forward with the Callie work, as well as our overall professional learning cycle. So with that, do I have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to comment about just kind of back up on what Mr. Barnes said about how he's amazed how we're ready to jump on situations and address them. And I like to say, I was thinking when he said that the few people that I'm able to talk to, and I'm always asked how Robla's doing, I've totally referred to the PLCs and the PLSTs, how fortunate we were to have these in place to do it. And not only that, it gave me the opportunity to tell them, to educate them about the PLCs and the PLSTs, and they're all interested in really, selling the program. And so, I want to see us do everything to maintain that. And you're talking about the $5,000 grant, Cindy? Is that what it would take to maintain them for another year? Is that what it is, or how much?
It's much more for the PLSTs.
I thought so, yeah.
much more. Add a few zeros. No, that $5,000. I'm thinking more along the lines of, we're trying to maintain these professional learning communities, these opt-ins. We pay teachers for that because those are opt-ins that they're doing on their own time. And so we've always paid teachers to be part of those opt-ins. So that 5,000 might help that component
okay.
of the cycle. We also are looking at how do we increase and further our primary teachers with their knowledge about foundational literacy skills and what a balanced literacy program looks like. Nancy Ockhaven from Fresno State is willing to work with us at no charge because she's part of the Cali teams. She's one of their thought partners. But again, we need to find ways to incentivize in either time or dollars to help teachers to take the time to come and be part of some of that learning. So that's where it might also may help. And also too, we just need to look at our funding to make sure that we can maintain going through all the rest of the SOAR frames and provide that training. And Debbie Pitt has been really instrumental in helping with our leadership team and meeting between the professional learning days and helping us to come up with what we're going to do. She essentially is our trainer during the professional learning days. She may utilize the PLSTs or lead teachers to be a part of that so we can go into small group, but we need the funding to help continue having her as part of that cycle.
Thank you. Yeah, and I apologize. I didn't know I wasn't muted when I asked Alexa to turn on the kitchen.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, moving along to item 5D, the Williams Quarterly Report with Superintendent Reyes.
Thank you. I am pleased to report that again this quarter we had no filings for Williams.
Awesome.
Right.
Moving along to item 6, the consent agenda. A single motion can be passed by the board, so I will entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7, action items. Item 7A, approve the Bell Avenue SPSA.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments?
Nope. This is, again, Mrs. Hall presented last month, and so this is the approval for her plan.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7B, adopt resolution calling the general presidential election.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Comment?
This is just a resolution that we're required to pass to have our board elections coincide with the general election.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7C, approve the employment of Mr. Gerardo Castillo as Chief Business Official effective April 30, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Is there any discussion?
I would just like to say that we're very, very pleased to bring this to the board. As we have discussed, Mr. Castillo has been a member of the Robla family for some months now, as he was serving as our interim CBO as we went through the selection process. But I would love to everybody to know that he has just been such a wonderful addition to the team. He is someone who came to us quite experienced, someone who has very much a team mentality, which here in Robla is very important to us. And we can be very picky about who we welcome to the family, but Mr. Castillo has been a really, really wonderful resource, and we're really pleased to bring him forth as our permanent CBO.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7D, adopt resolution authorizing signature authority on documents transmitted to Superintendent of Schools, County Superintendent of Schools.
Move.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments? Go ahead. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7E, approval of purchase order with Enviroplex and prime contract change order with Clark Sullivan for modular construction services for the Glenwood Elementary School new construction and modernization project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been
Second.
moved.
Yep.
It's been moved and second.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Well, we're glad to answer any questions you may have, and I see Jordan's come on the screen. This is just moving forward with the Glenwood project, and you saw in the report tonight that is kind of next step after we get going with Robla and Bell. And this is the modular, that will be a modular kindergarten building, correct, Jordan, that we're moving forward with, as well as the modernization of the permanent classrooms.
You're talking again?
Questions or comments?
No.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I kind of miss my colleagues, I'm sorry. Different, not having them in the room. Item 7F, excuse me. Adopt resolution approving final drawings for the Bell Avenue Elementary School new construction project and authorizing the district to submit the drawings to the Division of State Architect and California Department of Education.
So moved.
So moved.
Did you say
Second.
Bell? It should be Glenwood.
No, this is
Superintendent
Bell.
Superintendent Reyes, if I may interject, we do have a
Okay.
presentation
Yes,
from
absolutely.
the architects
Yes.
prior to approving this or
Yeah.
considering the approval of this item.
So we
Uh,
do have the
So
architect.
just as a quick recap,
Yes.
If you don't mind,
Go right ahead, Jordan.
back in August, the board did approve of IBI Group to provide the architectural services for the Bell Avenue new construction project. This project does include the removal of the 8 relocatable facilities on the western side of campus near the parking lot, and in its place, the construction of a 2-story classroom building that includes 10 new classrooms, a new library and media center, and a new administrative area. This new building will also serve as the new entrance to campus. Since board approval, CFW has been working closely with IBI on the design. We have gone through schematics, the DD phase and the CD phases of design. During this time, we've also had page turn meetings with district staff at the DD phase and the CD phase. And as Emilio had previously mentioned, we also had a meeting with district art teachers on what amenities should be included in STEAM classrooms. We've incorporated these notes into the final design that you'll be seeing shortly. We are at the 90% phase of that final phase of design, the CD phase, and upon board approval, we will be working with IBI on finalizing that drawing set and submitting to DSA in mid-May. So at this point, I would like to turn it over to Sherry Gradke, as well as Maria Clara Mesa from IBI Group to present the final drawings for the new construction project at Bell Avenue.
All right, thank you, Jordan, and thank you for the opportunity to present. Tonight, I'm going to share my screen and go through a short presentation of what we have put together. Is it sharing?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right, thank you. So at Bell Avenue, the project is, the new construction, new 2-story building, media center, and an administrative area. And I wanted to start out tonight with the video just so we can do a quick recap and then and just get the visual of what the site is going to look like. So as you can see, this is the view from the parking lot. What we have done is reconfigure the parking lot to provide more parking. And we also used this opportunity to review the site and all the colors and see if we wanted to do a little facelift. And what this presentation reflects is the selection of the new color scheme for the campus. And so it's just kind of an upgrade, a a new look for the campus. We're just going to look at the different exterior areas that are created with the building. And if anyone has any questions while it's running through, just let me know. But it's the one-story area, houses the media center and the administration. And we're just going to quickly run up the stairs here. We're still going through some value engineering on the project and looking at some different ways to best spend the dollars that are available for the campus. All of the colors and everything was reviewed through the page turners with the superintendent, and it was a really nice meeting along with the firm doing the modernization project, and we really were able to collaborate and team up and really look at the site as a whole, a holistic site, and look at it holistically, sorry. So we'll look at the site plan very quickly. You'll see that there's the new entry coming in, the administration area with the media center. We've looked into all protections along this elevation facing the parking lot with some screening methodologies and to really increase any kind of security measures and to ensure the campus stays secured. One of the items we're looking at is doing some shade canopies along this for to act as bus shelters during during drop off and pickup. Media center remains the same, small administration area. And at this campus, we looked at the opportunity to go to gender neutral restrooms. So we did implement some single unisex restrooms in lieu of multi-accommodation restrooms. And so it's a way to really progress with having a new gender neutral services on this site. On the second floor is where an art room STEAM room was implemented. In that room, we're using some multi-faucet sinks to assist in cleanup. There will be power from the ceiling in power reels to just promote flexibility in the classroom. They can grab it down and utilize the movable tables, but it really allows some different learning to occur in that STEAM classroom. It also is accessible to a small project room that has a view in between the two, so you can actually have breakout work as well off the STEAM classroom. Those have been the major thing that was implemented as a part of this project since you last saw it. So here's the view of the school entry with the new school colors. We did present 3 different options and looked at the campus as a whole, and it really offers a lively front for this new entry for the campus. And just a back view. Similar to Maine, we have this large covered area with a balcony here and a gathering area here to also to promote some outdoor collaboration, outdoor classroom activities. And then we really looked at a neutral palette for the classroom itself, which will be highlighted by the furniture selection as well as what teachers will put on display. It follows the same format where you have 3 monitors on the three walls, movable furniture, so to have the most flexible classroom as possible. And then the small administration area with teacher mailboxes and workstations and work center, a view line out to the public area and also the principal's view. And in the media center, it is also a flexible space. We've highlighted a smaller area with some acoustical baffles here and a small breakout room within the media center itself. And with nice light and some different light fixtures to really set off the space. And where our schedule is, we're on target to submit to the Division of the State Architect in mid-May. And that sums up where the project is at, and we appreciate the opportunity to show it again to you. And if there are any questions.
Thank you, Sherry.
Looks awesome. Keep it going.
Beautiful,
It does.
awesome.
I can't tell if our online guests have questions. I'm guessing they will speak up. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved in second.
Yeah.
Are they back on?
Discussion?
Are they back on?
Oh, they're not, hold on.
No, there they are. Can you guys hear us?
No, I
No.
can't hear.
I can't hear.
Oh my God, they say they can't hear. If I ask them if they can't hear.
Look at his face.
Yeah. You really can't hear us?
We can barely hear you.
Just
Okay.
barely.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
we know we can hear you.
Okay, you gotta yell, Ken.
Okay, so,
Love you, Cam.
okay, so it's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Oh, there's the sound.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 7G. Approve Wilkinson, Hadley, King and Company for audit services for fiscal year 2019-20, 2020-21, and 2021-22. That's a tongue twister. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and second.
I would just say it's generally a good practice to not stay with any one audit firm for too long, so that we always get some fresh eyes looking at our books and making sure that we're following all the rules. So this is Mr. Castillo's attempt to just make sure that we're doing that.
This is a 3-year contract. I thought we switched them every 5 years or so. Is it kind of?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly I don't know the answer to that
Yeah, I
exactly
thought we
that
did
timing.
5 years too. That's what I thought when I was looking at it.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Let's see. Item 7H.
H.
Authorize inspection services through Optima Inspections Incorporated for the Building A project. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and second.
So the Building A project is the new district office building that would house the new boardroom, and this is just another contract required in terms of moving that project forward. This is now the inspector.
Okay.
Trustee DeLuce, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7I, approve comprehensive safety plan for 2020 to 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second?
It's been seconded.
The plan was presented to the board at a previous meeting, and this is just, again, a required update to our document, making sure that we are following statutes in regards to any, our plans for safety.
Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7J, approve student academic calendar for school year 2020 to 2021.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and second. Discussion?
I would just say the board has the calendar. This is a process we go through every year, part of the bargaining process with our associations. And this is the calendar that we landed on. I would just, say that we're not sure exactly what's going to happen in the future. If the governor mandates that we start school in July, then obviously that would change our calendar because currently school starts in August. This is our best guess as to assuming that the world gets back to normal and we're able to run a school year with the same number of instructional days under the same guidelines that we've had in the past. That's what we've developed, but of course, if there is something for us to consider in the future, then we will work with our associations to follow any guidelines we get from the state.
Questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I didn't see the addendum.
It's at just scroll down. It's there.
I'm not
K?
seeing it.
You don't have K?
Do I need to refresh?
Maybe.
Lost your audio again.
Hello.
We're looking for the
He's
last
looking for
item.
something.
You can
Hold
put
on.
it up on my screen.
Okay. Item 7K. Addendum to approve a 5% increase in the monthly compensation for board members retroactive back to January 1, 2020. And the amount is $292.16. It goes from $292.16 to $306.78. That's all I see. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any,
Just that this increase follows the statute that we're allowed to do. So we wanted, the board gave us this direction, so we're happy to bring it forward.
all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, and that is the last, right, again. Item 8, board member requests for future agenda items and reports, starting with trustee DeLuce.
I don't know if I'll call it a agenda item. If we're gonna do this in the future, it sounds like the sound that we're getting from you guys is coming from an external mic that's there in the room as opposed to the mics that are right in front of you. I don't know if you guys are plugged into the sound system, but just as we do future meetings online, because the mics that I'm hearing from the people who are doing it remotely are crystal clear. It's only the ones that are only the sound coming from the boardroom that's really hard to hear. So if we can work on that for future meetings like this, that'd be great.
Okay.
We can do that.
Trustee Boyd?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing about the sound. I concur, but I also and because of the sound, I wasn't able to hear. I was waiting to talk on the presentation by CFW. I just want to thank Maria for the demonstration from IBI. That's pretty exciting to see that school, and I know the people over in that campus are going to be excited too. So I just want to say thanks for that.
Trustee Howard?
I have none.
Not here.
Trustee Newt, I almost said trustee Newt, trustee Cardona. Okay, and I actually don't have any. I was thinking of one, but I don't. So with that, this meeting has been closed. Thank you. And
Thank you.
For everyone.
Thank you.
who
All right, see you
attended.
guys later.
Thank you,
Do
guys.
we have to sign anything?
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you to the 21 or so that, I think we had about 21. Yeah. I thought that we get less as, presentations.
I think we have to talk louder.
We still
Talk
got
over
15,
here.
we still
I
got
think
15 more.
I think that's what it is. You have
Yes.
to talk louder.
I think that's where we have problems. We have to talk louder and closer.
Yeah, and it wasn't this, so you really had to talk to that, I guess.
Is that microphone thing something we can